Ladies, gentlemen, squid. I don't know how you choose to identify this evening, but we think we've covered it all. If you can see my face and or hear my voice, you know it can only mean one thing. It is time for the worst 120 minutes or so in all of sports. Yes, that's right. I'm Mike, and it is time for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. I am joined as I am each and every week by my faithful partner in all things podcasting, producer Stead, rocking your Wu Tang shirt.
Hey,
How
you
goes
know,
it, sir?
well, Wu-Tang Clan's for the children, as we all know.
Yes, yes,
Faithful words of
yes.
ODB told us that.
Mhm.
And but yeah, doing okay. Doing okay. Trying to figure out how I'm gonna organize my new little domain here. Trying to make it look as college dormy as possible. I got a couple of other ideas coming along.
No, it
But
looks very college dormy. I
yeah,
like that. Like,
yeah.
like it brings me back to my college days when we used to do this. Now that we're just a wee bit older, we have access to things like homes and condos. I never thought that we would go back to those days, but
Mm,
apparently that's where we're going.
absolutely.
I'm all
Absolutely.
for it.
Thinking
Um,
fondly of the days of much less responsibility.
mhm. I was so disheartened over the weekend for a variety of reasons. I went with the blank screen behind me.
Ah.
But this is the first time in a long time that we've done 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's been a while. Life has
I'm
really
not
gotten in
sure
the
if my
way.
endurance is up to it.
I get what you mean. Yeah, I
I
get what you
took I,
mean.
I took my hair out. You wouldn't
Yeah,
know anything about that since you don't have any.
I haven't had any since I was 26.
But yep, here's where we find ourselves.
Mhm.
How the wife, how the kids.
Yeah, they're alive. It's
Same
about the
thing.
best I can do right now.
Uh,
But they're doing a lot better than some of the clubs we're about to talk about are about to do. I've been doing.
so I do have a run of show uh,
Mhm.
that tells us what we should talk about. I'm trying to decide between the first 3 subjects that we talked about, and I think I'm going to go for it in order.
Okay.
Um, y'all lot picked up a good one.
Yeah, yeah, that was a big win. That was a big win. I mean, we were still kind of griping about the Declan Rice red card from the Brighton game, but you know, those things happen in football. Unfortunately, the inconsistency of officiating seems to be the common theme that we all complain about. But it is what it is. You got to just suck it up and move on. And luckily, the boys did that. I can say that the from an impartial perspective, I mean, Spurs are really lacking a killer. You know what I mean? They really have a decent squad. They have some good players. They seem to play well tactically together, and they have an understanding of where they should be positioned on the field. But they don't have a killer. And I can honestly say that Spurs are a lot less threatening without Harry Kane. I mean, they really are. They really are. And I think the difference in that game was Arsenal was able to score from one of their chances. They had about the same number of chances, and Arsenal's D just locked them down. I mean, Arsenal played. I thought they played very, very tight defense, and after they scored, usually from Arsenal's perspective, it is they tend to start to play a little tight, and then we start getting that squeaky bum time, and the other team starts getting a lot of chances. Arsenal starts complaining with each other, and hopefully they can just sort of get through the final 5 minutes of a game without it being too much of a fiasco. And I didn't see that, which I was entirely expecting to. So that was a positive that they went up 1-0, and Spurs really didn't have a good shot to equalize for the rest of the game. So from a fan perspective, that was great. I still think if Spurs can figure out a way to take to step up a little bit more in those big games, because that game was also at Spurs Stadium, which makes it a little bit more of a sting. But I still see them finishing top four. Um, but they need to show it more against the other big boys in the league, and don't hang too much on winning 3-0 over, I believe they beat Everton or something like that. And there's there's still a lot there. I just think that, I mean, the fact that Richarlison is, I'm not even sure he's still in the club anymore. Is he still in the club, Richarlison?
I believe so.
Yeah, but he's not
This is
very
one
good anymore.
shows I'm going to
Yeah,
do where I'm sans the normal technology that I use to look up these things on fly.
yeah,
Um, I will say this: uh, that game was a lot more open
yeah.
than I anticipated.
Oh, yeah, you got that
I
right.
mean, for the first 30 minutes or so, that was a NASCAR race. That was the Preakness.
No, the first 30 minutes or so, that was an old firm game.
That was an old firm
Yeah,
game. That was
yeah.
straight up and down the
Hmm.
field,
Hmm.
punch counter punch.
Yes,
And
unfortunately, I missed some early parts of the game. My son had his own football game, but I was able to catch most of it. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely right.
it was entertaining to watch.
Mm,
Uh, and played like an old firm game.
mm,
And I gotta give Arteta credit.
mm,
He had Arsenal set up so that they could do that,
mm,
and they were able to withstand it.
mm,
Arsenal did what they do best, and what they do better than anybody else in the league right now is they score off of set pieces.
mm, absolutely.
And they had one, they capitalized on it. That was the difference.
Mm,
Son Heung-min is a phenomenal player,
absolutely.
but I think even the most ardent Spurs fan that we know, Los, would admit that Sonny misses Harry Kane right now.
Yeah,
And it may not necessarily be that he misses Harry Kane, but he misses having that presence
right.
in the box that takes away
Hmm.
attention from him
Right.
because Son's productivity has dramatically decreased.
Hmm. He can't depend on Solanke. He
Mm.
can't. No. And
But whether it was
Charleston
Solanke,
doesn't
whether
even
it was
start. Yeah.
Richarlison last year,
Hmm. Mm,
they don't score enough goals
mm,
to take the pressure off of him.
mm,
And when you don't have a 2025, a guaranteed 2025 goal a season score in the center, it puts a lot of pressure on Son.
mm,
And
absolutely. Well,
this is not an indictment on him.
no, it's not.
Most wingers would suffer under those same circumstances.
Hmm.
But he's just struggling to be able to find anything because he gets no space.
Right. And
He has no opportunity.
which is why I don't I mean, I guess Chelsea might be better, and Rob might be better to speak about this, because I would think with the loan of Werner, who has speed. I mean, that's one thing he can do, is he can get behind defenders and run. Hopefully that would maybe free up some space for Son. But Werner, Timo Werner's not starting, and he's just kind of now starting to integrate into the club a bit more, which is understandable. But I suspect that if they can figure out a way to incorporate him a bit more with just his pace alone, and he is relatively familiar with Premier League with his time with Chelsea, that hopefully that can do what you're talking about, which is alleviate some of the pressure that Son's feeling, even if it's not necessarily from a goal scoring perspective. It's just being a focal point of the attack.
I think the thing with Werner is Werner has speed, he has all those things, but quite like Emil Heskey used to do, he had size, he had speed, he had pace and power. But the one thing that you could count on Emil Heskey not to do was actually score.
Score. which is why I didn't understand why Rooney loved him so much. But
No, and I
but
get
I
why
get it.
Rooney
I
loved
get
him
it.
because
Yeah,
Rooney, when
I
they were
do get it.
playing
That's a
again
stretch. Yeah.
in England, Emil Heskey used to do all the things Rooney needed him to do,
Mm,
and he would actually physically create space for Rooney to score goals.
mm,
If I'm looking at Timo Werner right now, it's like even if I left you one on one, you can't score. So how worried do I have to be
mm,
about you?
mm.
Um,
Well,
I will say that was one of the more entertaining. I know the
mhm.
scoreline says 1-0, but it was
Yeah.
very, very,
No, it
very
was an enjoyable game.
entertaining.
Absolutely. Hmm.
And Arsenal come out winners, deservedly so.
Hmm. Agreed.
And
Hmm.
just gotta answer for why he continues to struggle against the top four.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, he's got some favorable games coming up, including Manchester United, and who knows what the heck they're going to do.
That's true.
Actually, given the fixture schedule for Manchester United and how they looked against Barnsley and Southampton, that
Hmm.
could actually be a very entertaining game.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
say that to say, like, I have no idea what that is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, playing Southampton now seems to be what you want to do. I really feel bad, for Ramsdale going to Southampton because he was thrown into a situation with no defenders and expected to keep them in the game. That's got to be difficult for him. I
They
do
were
feel for him,
in the game.
but
It was an early
but the
morning
but the
game
but the red
on
card
Saturday.
really hamstrung him.
Yeah. It was an early morning game.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you what, uh, Southampton were in the game for the first 30 minutes and they looked like the better team. Uh, they got a penalty. It was a poorly taken penalty that Onana was able to save.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, Manchester United just dominated the game.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
going into that first 30 or so minutes, there is a clear way over the course of first three or four games as how to play Southampton.
Mm-hmm.
High press them, put them
Mm-hmm.
under pressure when they try
Mm-hmm.
and want to play out from the
Play
back.
the
They
ball from the
make
back, yeah.
mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and you can capitalize on that.
Yeah. Which
Attack
is
them with a
and
high
which
spread.
and that was the knock on Ramsdale.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Attack them with a high press and speed.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows this. Guess what Eric Ten Hag decided to do? Lay off. We're going to hit them on the counterattack. And then even when we do get the ball, when they turn over, we're going to build up. So if the book is hit them with a high press and attack with speed, we did Manchester United did the exact opposite for the first 30 minutes, which is why I will say, like, y'all damn lucky you got out of there with the win, let alone a result that flatters you the
Mm-hmm.
way that it does.
Yeah.
3-0 makes it look like a complete and total domination.
It does. I mean, from someone who saw this from afar, that's what I expected. That's what I suspected. And
No, uh, Southampton won a penalty. They failed to convert in about Southampton won a penalty in about the 30th minute. They failed to convert. Then United went down, scored two within 6 minutes.
mhm,
Got a red card in the second half. Garnacho put in a late in the game third. But had it not been for the penalty save by Andre Onana, had that penalty gone in,
mhm,
we might be having a completely different conversation.
yeah.
As it was, Marcus Rashford got a goal, and he has looked like a completely different player since he got that goal. Ball goes in the net. It's a nice shot. Don't get me wrong. It is a nice shot. It is a curler going from left to right, bounces slightly in front of the goalkeeper, can't get it in, but it's a nice curling long distance shot that he puts a lot of touch on and manages to navigate it into the lower right hand corner for him. He got that one in, scored it, and it's like, oh crap, I can actually do this.
Yeah. That's been a while
He
for
has
him.
been running at people, taking them on. Today, he scored Manchester United's first against Barnley, like took on the entire team and put it in the back of a net. He had one where he could have gone over easy in the box, laid it off, slipped it in for Alejandro Garnacho to get one in. Dude, you hit one and all of a sudden, like you've figured out this is what you should have been doing the whole entire time.
Yeah. You gotta wonder if he had some sort of underlying injury that he was nursing.
I don't know whether it was an underlying injury. What I did hear was over the international break, he was taking extra training sessions. Somehow that gave him enough confidence to take the shot. Once he saw that go in, I can do this again.
Right. Okay.
And
Because that often seems to be the case when you have a player who just seems to wake up one day, and it may just be that they finally start to feel better, and you can be cleared to play physically, but not cleared to play, mentally. But who knows?
we've talked about shooters in basketball. Allen Iverson was one of the greatest scorers, pound for pound, like probably the best scorer I ever saw play in the NBA. And he was a dude who could miss his first 13 shots. And he would jock up 14 because he always said, once I see it go through the net, I got it from there. Watching Rashford's body language and how he played, and just the difference and how he was playing in between March of last year when he scored his last goal against Liverpool in the FA Cup in this game. Once that ball skipped into the back of the net, all of a sudden he became a totally different player. He became the Marcus Rashford that is an England scorer, a guy that other teams are afraid of, somebody who can take people on and will aggressively run at players. He would run towards players, but he wouldn't run at players. He's aggressively, I'm not afraid to. He had one shot attempt before the one that scored. This whole season, through 3 games, he had one attempt, not on goal, just one period.
Just an actual attempt to score a goal.
Now all of a sudden he's running at guys, he's putting them under pressure. That changes a lot of equations for Manchester United. I'm not saying that they will finish top 4. I'm not saying that they will get any higher than they are right now. But Marcus Rashford playing in the form that he was when he can get 30 goals a season changes a lot of variables and a lot of equations. Makes it a lot harder to defend them. It opens up opportunities, just like we were saying, how much Son misses
Kane.
Kane,
Yeah.
if Bruno or Xerxes or whoever is playing alongside of him has a Rashford who's capable of scoring 25, 30 goals,
Hmm.
which based on the last two games, that's the form he's in. Now, I'm not
Hmm.
saying that's what's going to happen. He could go scoreless for the next 3 months, and we
Yeah, he
could
can
be
go
having this
cold. Yeah.
conversation. Yeah, we could be
Yeah.
having this conversation in December, and I could be saying like this is the high point for him.
Right.
But if he is aggressive and he's playing like he is right now, that is a difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But something so desperately Manchester United need right now, too,
Well,
is
that
a
is what
difference
is.
maker. Is someone that even if he doesn't. I remember when he was really young and he was playing in an international tournament, and they put him on, and he completely changed the whole face of the game. Completely changed it. And and what I hope, because that seems to be that's happened to. I'm gonna go back to when I think this was a World Cup and Theo Walcott. No, it was it was Champions League. Theo Walcott was brought on the field, and Messi said he completely changed the game,
Mhm.
completely changed it. And unfortunately for Theo Walcott, he didn't seem to heed that. Like, wow, that's a role for me to really be successful. And he talked his way out of that position with Arsenal, and then ended up, on Southampton 2 years later. So there's that difference maker type of role for every player that can get them back into the swing of things. So from Rashford's perspective, I mean, he should take that as, even if he's not starting.
Well, he's going to start every game for that he plays for Manchester United.
You still think so? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um. Unlike Theo Walcott, Rashford is a streak
Better.
scorer. You can also say that
He's better. He is. He's better.
Rashford's a streak scorer.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I think that is the biggest knock on him is he needs to put together two consecutive good seasons
Mm-hmm.
because he can score 15 goals and then only score two.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then turn around and score 25,
Mm.
score five, then hit for 30
Mm-hmm.
and go 6 months without one.
Yeah.
When he's on, he's on. When he is on,
Mm-hmm.
there are very few people who can keep up and play with him.
Mm-hmm.
When he lacks the confidence, uh, he's basically useless.
Mm-hmm.
What he needs to figure out for the betterment of him is how to shorten the durations of these lulls that he gets in.
Mm-hmm.
When he was playing up until this goal against Southampton, the shoulders were slumped.
Mm-hmm.
He was indecisive. He was afraid to he didn't know whether to pass, whether to shoot. And what ended up happening is he literally was just playing the ball into the defender.
Mm-hmm.
He got caught in between, should I shoot? Should I pass? Who do I
Right.
pass to? Should I dribble? Should I take this guy on? Should I lay it off? And you could look at him and say, this is a kid going through six different ways.
Right.
Scores a goal, all of a sudden, I trust my instincts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take guys on. Uh the goal, and I'm gonna call it an assist to Garnacho that he had today are both instinct plays.
Mm-hmm.
Got the ball, carried it, took a man one on one, beat him, goes in, scores.
Right.
Uh, gets a bad pass from Anthony, takes the guy on, could have easily gone over and won a penalty,
Mm-hmm.
but sees Garnacho making a run into the box off of his left rather than go over, kind of slides the ball over to his left. Garnacho's clear in. Garnacho scores.
Mm-hmm.
When Marcus Rashford is playing free when he's playing clear, when he feels confident in what he's doing and how he's seeing the game. He just does stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When he's second guessing himself, now he just needs to figure out how to stop second guessing himself,
Yeah.
because he really is talent wise a great player,
Mm-hmm.
probably capable of being one of the better in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's his inconsistency that keeps him down.
Yeah.
He's coming off. I was not selected for the Euros. I was not selected for this last England team. I need to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to get my rightful place back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go out. I'm going to do extra training sessions. I'm going to figure out how to get it back.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's 2 goals and an assist to the good in 2 games. And guess what? Now, the competition hasn't been the greatest. It's been
Mm-hmm.
Southampton, it's been Barnsley, but
You only got
United
what's in front of you.
beat what's in front of you, and United
Mm-hmm.
are 10 goals to the good right now. 10
Yeah.
goals scored, none conceded.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Only play with who they put in front of you. So go
Yeah.
play.
Um, Amongst other things that we needed to talk about, I'm going to skip one. I know
Okay.
I gave you an order. I'm going to skip one.
Yeah. Which one are we skipping?
We're going to save Everton for a second. I want to go to Rodri
I think we should save
and
Everton too.
Allison's
Because
comments
I,
about fixture congestion.
yeah, well, I have a feeling that the situation with Everton is going to be pretty consistent throughout the year, so we can talk about them at another time. Have it be no
No,
issue.
I'm not going to say that I'm not going to get into it. I still have time. I want to talk about that tonight because
Okay,
that is
just saying.
fascinating. And you know how much I love. All right. I
No,
want
we can talk Rodri. Let's talk Rodri. Let's talk Rodri.
to. No, I do. Allison said in an interview, they don't consult us about adding more games. Rodri suggested that players might go on strike.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Actually, Rodri said if this keeps going and if we ever had the opportunity, there were a lot of qualifiers in that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I recently learned Rodri speaks better English than I thought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And here's how I know it. You're going to love this. You and I have a mutual friend, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Derek does in the summer?
Summer camp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess who learned to speak English at Derek's summer
Oh,
camp?
you serious?
Dead.
Wow. I never knew that. That's awesome. That's all. He's been at that camp for years too,
Yeah, but
decades.
he's been telling me this for the last, like, every time he sees me for the, because Rodri had an article, I think, on The Athletic where he talked about
Hmm.
learning to speak English at a summer camp in Connecticut.
Right.
So boys walking around making sure everybody reads that to let
Oh,
them
I'm
know
sure.
I helped Rodri learn how to speak English. So what that told me is that man's English comprehension is a whole lot better than I originally thought
Yeah,
it was.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So when Rodri sits there and says, I think if you keep this up, we are going to go on strike, I don't think that is a mistranslation.
No, 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 no. And
But
go ahead.
is he wrong? Like, if they were better, like, I don't think the players are going to strike because I don't think they're that well organized.
No, of course
But
not.
his complaints about fixture congestion when he's looking at playing 75, 85
Hmm.
games for City with the extended Champions League
Hmm.
and the Club World Cup. Is he wrong?
Yeah. Well, no, he's definitely not wrong. But we spoken about this before when I mean, Klopp was beating this drum for a very long time. And yeah, there is a sincere issue with this, but of course, it's all wrapped up in the same issue that everything that seems to be going on with football now is just the money in the games. And, but, I looked up a couple of things just out of curiosity, and it turns out that players are spending, of course, more time on the training table. In fact, players who played in the last World Cup actually missed an additional 8 days due to injury on average than the players who did not. Um, with the increase of with the FIFA national breaks, and then you have all the League Cups, and then you have an extended Champions League, and then you have various not just fixtures as far as the what am I thinking? The Your league campaign as well. Yeah, it's almost like you're seeing the big clubs having to pick and choose which cups they're going to go for. You can see, cup outside of Manchester City. I mean, it's hard for a team to have that number of players that they can sustain and train and take care of and pay to make them competitive in all of these different avenues that they're playing with. But the top English teams are playing in 4 competitions a year.
They're playing 80 games a year,
Yeah,
and
it's a lot of
to
soccer. It's a
sustain
it's
that,
it's a lot.
you would need a squad of about 40 guys.
Yeah, you need a Chelsea squad. So I mean, we
But
can,
even Chelsea can't
but
have a Chelsea
Chelsea
squad.
can. Yeah. So it's but the problem is it's not going to stop until the investment into it no longer returns the dividends that the people who are putting this together want it to return. So
So if if we're not going to stop until the investment does not return,
mm,
then you actually do have to have a situation where uh players walk off.
yeah, well, I mean, I think you're gonna see clauses in player contracts where
Um,
where you could see like they're going to play a maximum number of this amount of games or various things. And I mean, I think you're just going to see that start to be something that's going to be negotiated from from club to club, and it's not going to be every player. Of course, it'll just be the top players, but you're
well, we
going
see this in the NBA.
in the NBA. Exactly what I was thinking. You see this in the NBA,
Load
and
management. I have this is apocryphal as all get out. Um, we have a mutual friend, Uncle Leo, who has been saying for years, like prior to NIL, why didn't a team walk off the floor at the NCAA Final Four and
mhm,
say, unless we're getting paid, we're not coming out and
we
playing?
ain't playing. Yeah, we're not playing.
And I'm not party to this, but I can tell you what Uncle Leo told me. Uncle Leo told me he talked to somebody who said, you don't know how close that came to actually happening.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
And
It
what
doesn't
I'm saying
surprise me.
is, um,
Mhm.
if Rodri and Allison really want to make a statement, like, could you imagine what it would look like if we get to the Champions League final and
We're
we're on air and the two teams like, nah, screw this. We're not playing this game
not
today.
playing. Nope. Mm-mm.
Or uh we get to the new Club World Cup, which is even more likely,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and you have Real Madrid and Manchester City and in Al Hilal
Mm-hmm.
and whoever else is playing in that.
Mm-hmm.
In the first game, they're like, no, we're not trying to
No.
do this.
But I think as a European-based player at one of those top teams, the Club World Cup is stupid. I mean, it's a real waste of time. Even though they come in at the very end, it's still
No,
it's
but
still
not
kind of
not
dumb.
anymore for this new Club World Cup. They're gonna have to go and play that
Yeah, but you know what?
in the summer.
Yeah,
And
I
that's the
couldn't
one
tell
where it's
you if
like
I even know where it's being aired. I
I
have no
I
idea about that fixture. All I know is that every now and then I'll see a team that's supposed to be playing on a Saturday and they're not playing. And I'm going, huh? Oh, wait a minute. They won. Did they win Champions League? Oh, they won Champions League. Oh, that means they're not playing this turn.
yeah, this new
That's the
one
only
is
reason why I know it's
this one
happening.
is this is more like a Club World Cup, and you're gonna have a lot of teams, whatever. And I'm telling you, You really want to make a statement?
Don't play.
That first game, sit yourself down because Johnny Infantino, and since he's been in charge of FIFA, has been about I'm going to expand tournaments. I'm going to bring more dollars in, which he has done. But the net of that, as he's grown all these tournaments and reformed them, is you've now turned it into a point where these guys are playing, some of these are playing 80 games a season.
Mhm.
And even if you want to argue with me, like his expansion to World Cup by adding a round of 32, but cutting it down to a three game or a two game group stage instead of three. Oh, well, that doesn't actually add an extra game to win it. But what you are doing is adding a bunch of extra games for about 12 extra teams who are now going to have to come and play two, maybe three games in the World Cup who weren't used to it. A lot of these players are playing like upwards of 60, 70, 80 games a
They're gonna
season.
have to bring their U23s. You know what I mean? They're gonna have
But we
to.
don't we haven't legislated that because
Yeah.
you can only carry 25 guys
Hmm.
on a roster. If you're going to tell me you need to play 80 games, you need a roster size of about 40.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can't keep saying like, "Oh, we're going to limit it to 25 and this
Hmm.
salary cap." They need to have bigger squads. You know, I know NHL teams play 82 games a season,
Yeah, but they're only on the ice for 15 to 20 minutes a game.
and they also carry a bigger squad
Yeah.
than
They're
a
skating
Premier
three
League
and
team.
four shifts. Those guys come on, they sprint, they get out. They spend the vast majority of that game sitting. Not saying it's not
NBA
hard or exhausting, but I mean, they're not playing the whole time. Then they don't have a limit on
unlimited subs.
substitutions.
Yeah. NBA, if you count in the Olympics and things like that, I think the top guys like a Jason Tatum played a combined 90 games this
Yeah,
season.
but even but take an NBA court and stick it in the middle of the soccer field. It's
Mhm.
about 30% of the size.
I would also like to point
And
out,
they're very small. And those guys are 6'9". They take four steps and they cover half the court
I would
anyway.
also like to point out Stead, that an NBA game is 48 minutes,
Yes.
of which Jason Tatum plays maybe 42,
Yeah. And
whereas Virgil van Dijk is going to play on average 70 plus minutes
mhm,
of the 80 plus games that he's going to play over the course of the season.
yes. And let's not
So
forget
double the
NBA
minutes.
and NBA games get like 8 timeouts a game.
Mm-hmm. And again,
You get like eight
unlimited subs
timeouts,
and
unlimited
returns.
subs. Yeah, absolutely. And you get stops for fouls and free throws and all those different
There's
stoppages of
literally an
play,
under
which
two
does
minute
occur.
timeout.
Yeah, which
There's multiple glorified TV timeouts.
of course. And while I'm not minimizing the athleticism or the endurance of NBA players, it's just the way their game is structured. It's just structured differently. It's just structured differently. But there's a reason why you don't see NBA or NFL or rugby matches or world football matches. They don't play 4 games in a week. Whereas the other leagues, they can do that. It just doesn't happen. But Rob, I see you there, man. Jump in, Rob.
Um, so this Club World Cup is happening in June. It's really interesting what's going to happen because typically the Champions League for the top, the European leagues, especially the top five, the Champions League final is kind of the end of the season, and that means now you get a month before contracts pretty much expire. And so you're telling me that someone in Real Madrid makes the Champions League final, then who? who's whose contract is up. They play the Champions League final, and then you're asking them to go to America in the middle of June. Then what if like July 1st hits, which is it's the middle of the Club World Cup.
Mhm.
July 1st hits, contract is done. So what happens? He
Mhm.
goes?
Yeah, he
Like,
transfers
But
out.
what happens if you have a pre-contract signed? This is
yeah,
more
yeah,
likely to happen for you guys.
yeah. What if like,
Um,
we get like Odegaard. Odegaard, gets signed to Bayern, and then Arsenal somehow made the Club World Cup. No
Mhm.
offense, that was no dig, Stan.
No, that's all good.
And like, but he signed the pre-contract with Bayern. Bayern are also in the Club World Cup, and then like in the third group stage game, Odegaard goes to the Bayern dressing room because it's July 1st, and then like, so I don't know what kind of, I have no idea. We don't know the stadiums for Club World Cup.
That's what I was saying. They don't even have the venue
We don't
selected
know
yet.
we don't know who's going to air it. It's
I
probably
didn't
gonna be
even know it's like
Fox.
this format.
It'll be
I
Fox.
I
No,
had
no,
I
it's
have
actually
no
going to be on.
idea
It's
what
going to
is going
be.
on
I'm
with this
looking it
thing.
up
I
right
just know
now.
that they're going to play it.
Okay, they're in talks because they still haven't finalized who's going to air it. With Apple
Yeah.
TV getting the broadcast rights.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's been rumored.
Yeah, and again, yeah, it's just
But like
talks. Yeah.
there's no details going on. The only thing I've heard, Eastern Seaboard, East Coast, while the Gold Cup, which is that little tournament CONCACAF has or whatever, blah, that Qatar pays money to get into, they will be playing on the West Coast. That's all I know. Now, like Champions League season's done. Now you're like, okay, like I need a break. I need rest. I need to, like I need to continue on because training camp starts typically what, like a week or two into July.
Yeah,
Mhm.
mid-July.
Like we got Super Cups being played in like late July, early August.
Mhm.
Plus the
Because we've
season.
also got Rob. We've got a 7-city North American or Asian tour that we've got to do.
Yep, all that. It's
Yeah, you're killing these guys.
it's
You're killing them.
ridiculous. Look,
You're
look,
killing them.
like, all right, the concept of the World Cup on paper is beautiful. Like you want the best club teams to play, but like no one takes it seriously because it's like they care more about domestic league,
Mhm.
domestic cup, and intercontinental tournaments, which is fine. Totally get it. But so they mean like it's a glorified like exhibition for
Mhm.
something, and Infantino trying to make cash on it to promise people. But like, let me tell you, if the clubs had any gumption, they would say no. We're not
Mhm.
going. We're protecting our players. They need rest because look, at the end of like, let's just say they give them rest. Who is Bayern going to put out there? Like the U23s, the
Yeah,
reserves, like,
But
and
that's
who
the other
don't
thing.
want to
He's going to
watch that?
say something about that because now all of a sudden you're going to sell all these tickets.
yeah, because these idiot American fans think they're going to be seeing the top players
What
on
are
the.
we going to be seeing? I mean,
I don't know.
the
I think
clubs used to
any
hate
learned
going to
American
Club
fan.
World Cup. The clubs used to hate going to Club World Cup,
Yeah.
and you had the European Cup champion and the Copa Libertadores champion who would come in at like the last possible moment wherever this tournament was held, play their game.
Hmm.
They would play a semifinal game, then they play each other.
Hmm.
Winner wins, loser goes home.
Hmm.
Fine, that's what it is. Infantino says we need to make this into something that it should not be.
Hmm.
So we're going to hold it in the summer. We're going to have champions from previous years. We're going to make it a 16, 18, 2014 tournament. We're going to sell tickets.
In America,
An end of season tournament? Is it a preseason tournament? What is it? Uh, I
it's
promise you, like, I think I want a game. I want the first game to be like Real Madrid and Colo Colo.
and Colo Colo win 3-0 because Real
No,
Madrid had
and
by a
neither one of
team.
them to show up, and neither one of
That
them
would
to
be even
or
better.
or or Colo Colo to win 3-0 on a forfeit because Real Madrid refuses to leave the locker room.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like what's like, the thing, all right. What's Infantino gonna do to Real Madrid, right?
Nothing.
The butter,
Yeah, they're gonna be like, whatever, dude. Kick
the
rocks, man.
cash isn't made through FIFA for Real Madrid. The cash is made at La Liga and UEFA.
Hmm.
Or I
And
want El Halal to win by default because everybody refuses to play
Hmm.
and they
Hmm.
walk out on the field and they just win because Real Madrid, Manchester City,
it's it's
uh,
it's gonna
River
be Orlando.
Plate,
Yeah.
all of those
Chelsea's in
teams
there.
just
Yeah.
refuse to leave the locker room.
It's gonna
Hmm.
be Orlando Pirates versus Melbourne City.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I want them to have the worst possible final because
Right.
big teams refuse to play.
And I think any learned American fan who look, I, talking to American soccer fans now versus 20 years ago is a completely different experience. We know what we're watching. And if I'm out there, and let's say I'm a Chelsea supporter and I'm watching and I'm like, oh, Chelsea's coming. If I see my star players out there, I'm gonna be like, what are you doing? Get them off the field.
Mhm.
They got a season to prepare for. These guys are. I
But
don't
the
want to
other
Yeah.
thing
see.
is,
You think
but
I
we
want to see
do the
Bukayo
same thing
Saka
with
out there?
any.
No, I don't want to see him out there.
All three of us have been to preseason friendlies.
Hmm.
We don't want to see the team out there, but we want to go
No.
because our team is here.
I just
Yeah.
want to wear my jersey. I
Oh,
don't even know half.
see,
Look, I've seen preseason games where half the guys don't even have a name on the back of their jersey.
Mhm.
It's fine. It's
no,
okay.
see, I view it differently, gentlemen. I view the tours, the summer tours. The game is like the worst part of the whole thing. The
That's right.
what I like about the Bayern tours, I can't speak for y'all, but what I love about the Bayern tours is all the all like the what we call activations that we
Hmm.
have.
Oh no,
So
you are saying the same exact thing. We're just saying it
Yeah.
slightly differently.
Yeah.
yeah,
Agreed. I
yeah,
We
agree
don't
completely.
care about the game
No.
itself.
I want
Absolutely
the
It's
not.
autograph
being around the
signings.
other
Yeah.
mutual fans.
Yeah, I want the
Right.
autograph signings. I want the meet and greets at the T-Mobile store.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
want the Paulaner VIP event with the free beer. Uh, I want even the invitation to the Reds Against Racism
Mm.
symposium that we had over at the
Hmm.
African American Museum
Hmm.
Mhm.
with Ronnie Stanley from the Ravens showing up in beach shorts and flip-flops. I want that. Like I'll take
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
all that to
Yeah. I
me was
agree
like
100%. Yeah.
those are the event. And look, like I remember it just to get together with people. Like I love you're
Hmm.
right. To get together, meeting new people, seeing people's scarves, and be like,
Yeah.
that's awesome, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Changing scarves, like that's great. And look, am I going to be a sucker for the Club World Cup? I probably will go
Yeah,
because
I probably if it's in Atlanta, I'll go, you
yeah,
know.
because
But
Bayern
We'll
is
all
gonna be
go
there.
yeah,
if we can get tickets.
yeah.
Bayern will be there.
Or
I'll see Paul Wagner and who's now alone at Heidenheim, parading around for 90 minutes against some, whatever. See Sasha Bowie, who's trying to, stay as right back, and then that's it. And then I'll enjoy myself. I'll have a bunch of beers and, it's great. And I'll show
Mhm.
support and there you go. But this is, I think the problem is that, and this is what it really irks me about the American football fan. It's like, it's almost like they're allergic to the passport office because, like, look, if you love your team, great, fantastic, and everyone has a reason why they can't go, but a lot of folks can go and they just don't. They're scared to like get on a plane and hit the passport control and hear a different accent or even speak a different language.
Hmm.
And if you love your team, you should go. Go
Hmm.
over there,
I
explore the
think
world a little bit.
I just I don't want to. I'm loath to paint a significant portion of the American fan as being unwilling to go. Uh, I think at times it's harder to organize that than you might think. You've had experience doing that. Uh,
But the
you know
but
my allegiance. You know how
yeah,
long I've been a fan of the team that I'm a fan of. I've never gone. It's not easy, and
yeah,
it
no,
has nothing to
it's
do
not.
with
it's not, and like I know, like for some people, especially those educators who work around,
But
the school calendar,
even if I
among other
wasn't an
things.
educator, it's intimidating trying to book a ticket into a foreign country, arrange tickets, at which point that you're not 100% sure of how the ticket market works. Like, it's a lot. And I don't want to say, like, I'm not willing to sit here and say, like, oh, you're not a real fan because go buy a ticket. It's not that easy. It's not that easy.
I personally think if, like, look, I mean, the friendlies and the tours and are fantastic, because they get exposure to the team. You get to see a couple stars running on the field. At the end of the day, it's a friendly, which is fine and dandy. The goal is that you develop this love for a team, and then now you go, look, if you love for a team, typically you start to love the culture around the team.
Mhm.
Um, and so the goal is typically is for those clubs, like, oh, look, you saw us, you loved us, now you loved us from afar, now you loved us close. Now come join us in the when the stakes are a little bit higher. But at the end of the day, those friendlies, you know, are showcases. At the same time, we have to remember it it's it's still labor, it's still work,
Well,
and
the
then
best teams are going to be the ones who
yeah,
make it easier after you come on tour for the team, for the fans who are there to come over and see them. And some teams do that better than others. I have had a ongoing discussion with our good friend Celtic Cam about the interest in Celtic when they come to the United States versus my perception of how much Celtic is able to capitalize that on that afterwards. Are you organizing tours? I think some of these clubs could do a better job of organizing events, and not all, but some could make it easier for, hey, you watched it. Here's who you need to talk to. We're going to have a tour for X, Y, and Z. Here's what's going to cost. You don't need to worry. Here's where the flights are. Here's where the hotel is. You're going to be with other fans. Make it a little bit easier, demystify it. Some clubs do that. Yours does. Not every club is as good with their global outreach as Bayern Munich is.
yeah, and 100% true. And like we sort of deviated a little bit from the main idea, and the main idea is
Oh, and we're going
the,
to completely change subjects
yeah,
in
but
about
no, but
30 seconds.
yeah. So the players are human, the players are robots. There's so many games, and it's going to come down to a team and a club saying no more.
Yeah.
That's it. We're not playing. I have to look out for my labor force, which is the players. And I hope that us fans support labor and support the players' health and not say, oh, well, you know what? Dance for me, train seal. I demand you to, because I'm paying money for TV rights or I'm paying money for this ticket. Like, no, at the end of the day, it's about, safety, health, and having the players ready to play 100% in the most important times of their season and year, which is domestic league, domestic cups, international tournaments, if they're a part of it. And also, to sort of to another extent for the top players, international tournaments, those come into play too. We have a big World Cup coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and so you would hope that some of the players get an extra rest, get ready for the next the 24 20 I mean 25 26 season, thus being ready for the World Cup when it happens.
All right. just because I'm a huge fan of really weird transitions. So after talking about the men's World Cup and men's Fisher congestion and striking, let's talk about the NWSL. Uh, we're getting down towards the end of the season. I have two really big things that I want to find out. Uh, your Gotham had some, let's call them interesting results prior to the Olympics. Uh, they're involved in a lot of tournaments this year, but I want to know, number one, has Gotham City FC gotten it right? Are they where you want them to be right now?
Yeah. Um, because it seems like everybody's coming back healthy. Finally, Lynn Williams is playing again. She had a leg issue that kept her out most of the club games before the Olympics. Recovered just in time to become an alternate at the Olympics. Then once Katerina Macario couldn't go, Lynn became a bench player and became the first player off the bench. So she's healthy again. One of the starting strikers, Esther Gonzalez, formerly of Real Madrid, World Cup winner for Spain, also is back healthy as well. Even good old Kelly O'Hara, last season in the league, uh, finally back healthy, getting spot minutes toward the end of games. It's all she could give at the moment. I think it with a knee issue. So we're in a good space. I mean, like it's the biggest problem I have with Gotham has been their inability to beat the top teams. So they only drew the current in their only meetup so far this season. They have a couple more coming up. They have not beaten Orlando, which is the top team in the league, and have not beaten Spirit, which is
We're going to get on
another
to
top,
Spirit in just a second.
another top team in the league. So Gotham also have a lot of matches, a lot of matches. They have the Challenge Cup, which is kind of like their Super Cup sort of that they did this season. Then they have this Liga MX uh NWSL tournament that they made the finals for. They actually played the current in San Antonio later in October. They probably won't win the Shield, but then they'll make the playoffs, and then you got the playoffs going on. Then you got the Women's Champions Cup, which is kind of our Champions League in the inaugural. They're playing games. They play Thursday versus Monterrey. Then they play against Tigres later in October. A lot of matches. Gotham had a lot of depth. And the coach, Juan Carlos Ambrose, has been using it very well. A lot of rotation, a lot of it by necessity, to be frank.
Well,
With injuries.
can they survive this fixture congestion? You got a lot of games coming up, and they're operating at a deficit against the top two teams in NWSL.
Yeah, it's they're not challenging for the Shield. I mean, getting third or fourth is going to be the goal for them, and having home field advantage at least for part of the playoffs is going to be essential. And it is a lot. Your main question is, is it too much? And frankly, we don't know. This is like one of the first times where a team has really had so much fixture, very European like, very Women's Super League like, which has, not only do you have Champions League, potentially do you have FA Cup and you have your league. So it's interesting. I mean, so far so good. But this could become a disaster really quickly. I mean, look, the the playoffs start in November.
Mm-hmm.
We Gotham has the NWSL Liga MX championship game against Current Kansas City Current in late October. Then you have one league match left, I believe, and then it's playoffs. So just the playoffs are starting right at the kind of like after a kind of a European week, an English week. So that's going to be it's going to be tough for them. I think they could do it. I think they could do well. The problem, like I said, the problem is that if they get to Orlando, they get to the Spirit in the playoffs, can't they beat them? And can they beat them on the road? And so far, Gotham has not shown they can do it. But as we saw last season, we got them coming, being the last place team in the playoffs, the last team in the playoffs, squeaking in, and then winning all their games on the road on the way to the title. They have the experience to do it. They had the talent to do it. They just have to do it. And it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be interesting to see because Gotham, in theory, could walk away with a few trophies, coming up.
Multiple.
So multiple, yeah. It's gonna be fun. It'll be a fun experience.
Um, my hometown by nature is Philadelphia. They do not have an NWSL team. I live in the DC area, so I have learned to love the Washington Spirit. This was not a team going in. Yes, they have Trinity Rodman. This is not a team going into this season that we thought was going to be at the top of the table. But brother, they are rolling. And especially since the Olympic break, they are rolling. And it's not a matter of a 1-0. They're beating most people on the road or at home, multiple goals. And Croy Bethune, who you and I have talked about, and I think Croy Bethune, even with the season ending injury, which of all things was sustained throwing out an opening pitch at the Washington National games. Screw you, Nationals. You suck for that one. You cost us Croy Bethune. I thought she should be the rookie of the year. Even after losing her, the Washington Spirit are still rolling. How legit are the Washington Spirit right now?
They're legit. They got a big game coming up against the Current. That's actually happening this Friday.
But we also saw them. They had to play the Portland Thorns. Guess what they did?
They spanked them around
They
a
had
little
to
bit.
pay KC already. Guess what they did?
Yeah.
Like they just don't lose these games.
Yeah. Now I will tell you, it's what we've seen is has gone down and Trinity Rodman has just turned it on, like just up the meter.
So
Like
what she went from really, really, really good, really she went from great to really, really, really great. Like
no, it's almost like she was a great player, and then now it's almost like if this was a baseball analogy, you would walk her. Like you can't pitch to her. Like this the goal that she had versus the Dash, and the Dash are a terrible team. Let's be frank.
no, but it was an amazing
Yeah,
goal.
that goal was everything about it. Just her toughness, her you know just the beauty of it. Top bins, curled it in there. Oh, it was gorgeous. Even the celebration was beautiful. Everything about it was perfect. And just Trinity's going to carry this team on her back. And you have to remember, like Trinity Rodman had won a title for this team already in a rookie season.
She won a title as a rookie.
Yeah. So, but on top of that, you would think the Washington Spirit, will lose Ashley Sanchez, will lose Sam Staub, and trade them all for picks. And they hit on almost all their picks. Hal Hirschfall, Croy Bethune, there's a couple other ones that are in the later rounds. They hit like
Everyone.
every one of their picks has been a hit. They play. They're contributing to the team. which is almost unheard of in the NWSL. It's getting beyond the first 2 rounds
Well, this
is
might be
tough.
the last draft that we
It,
see in NWSL. We
it
will
is.
talk
It's
about
done.
that. It's done.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Before we
but
get on to your bailiwick, which is
well, real quick on the Spirit. I think they have an excellent shot. I think excellent shot to catch Orlando. They had the game. This is going to be a great game coming up. October 6th, Sunday, 5 p.m. at Orlando, Spirit Orlando Pride. Have if Orlando doesn't snap get their streak snapped, it can't happen here. We're looking at a potential final. It's going to be a fantastic game. Um, I think Emma Hayes did something special to the front three, and Trinity Rodman has just only upped her game because of it. Just seeing her play like major minutes after coming back from the Olympics, as opposed to getting the extra rest like some of the other stars got and asked for. No, Trent's like, look, I'm ready to play. Let's go. And that says a lot about her. Like she said, forget fixture congestion. I'm ready to play. And we talk about a player who has played major minutes. We're talking about 100 plus with short rest. Emma Hayes has made them ultra marathoners, and the Spirit are benefiting from it. And they're a fun watch. They're definitely a fun watch. And I hope folks listen and you might go to a match and enjoy it
oh, I've
and
already
watch
been there. So
Trinity
I
show.
have one question for you before we get on, and I need you to do your Bundesliga report before we move on to Professor Matt, who's waiting on the wings. Uh, do I get a Trinity Rodman Spirit jersey or a Croy Bethune Spirit jersey? And Trinity Rodman's the obvious answer because she's the U.S. women's national team superstar. She's the most well-known name, but I have a lot of respect for Croy Bethune coming in, and up until she sustained the injury, uh, by far the runaway for uh, rookie newcomer of the year. And I gotta love somebody who's not the obvious choice, but still a solid choice. So, Rob, help me decide: Croy Bethune or Trinity Rodman?
It's Trinity. Get Trinity. It's like she look. Um,
So I'm totally getting Croy Bethune.
yeah. All right, you can do what you want. I would suggest get Trinity because look,
Yeah, that's probably what I need to do.
for all the talk about Barmani getting the big money at Barcelona, the highest paid player in the sport, in a couple of years that would be Trinity Rodman. Michelle Kang will pay her with a blank check, and Trinity will write on it. She's is a global star. Does the her game is phenomenal. Like it's a joy to watch. It's not just the goals. It's like even the dribbles down the flanks are beautiful. Like the trend spin is fantastic. I mean, it's we named it. Like the trend spin is a name. It's a thing. So get the Trinity shirt.
All right. We got to talk about the Bundesliga for a second. Uh, Bayern Champions League today. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't watching. I was watching Manchester United play at the same time, but my
Yeah.
understanding was that they handled their business. Bayer Leverkusen lost for the first time since 1964. Uh, Borussia Dortmund. Uh, St. Pauli's back in the Bundesliga, which means that for the first time in who knows how long, we have a team in the first division that wears brown as a primary color. Tell me what the heck should I be? What the heck is going on in Germany, and what should I be paying attention to?
Um. Look, I mean, everybody talks about Bayern, and they smacked around Dynamo Zagreb today. 9-2. And I think it's a fluke. I mean, we don't know what its company ball. Um, so to me, it's a little early to like, the big game is going to be in a couple weeks. It's going to be Bayern in Leverkusen. Like to me, like if our Bayern for real, our Leverkusen coming back down to earth, that will be a fun matchup. Um, the big thing is Heidelheim. Heidelheim has been doing fantastic. They're the story of the early Bundesliga. Um, they had the cutest mascot teddy bear, which looks like either the cutest thing or the subject of nightmares. Um, and the squad has been doing fantastic. They have some ballers here, and the one particular, it's not even a Heidelheim player, is a loanee from Bayern, Paul Wagner. Um, Doing just great work, starting, playing major minutes. We didn't think he would play much, and now he just stepped it up. They're the team that's very, very interesting. I love watching like those spunky teams play. And I thought St. Pauli was going to be that. I was hoping St. Pauli would be there, but they've been in the pits. Um,
But they're
and
having fun doing it.
they're having fun doing. Look. If you're talking to an 8-year-old, it's great. Like, yeah, have fun playing this beautiful sport. But when it comes to paying the bills and staying up, that's not gonna happen. Um, so I feel bad for St. Pauli. I think they'll figure it out. They need like a good win. They might need an international break. To get themselves back. I'm not exactly sure. And then Dortmund are interesting. I don't know what to make of them. They're right there, not too far away from Bayern, on top of Leipzig on goal differential. Um, but they haven't really like totally like I want to see what they do this weekend versus Stuttgart. Um, that's gonna be fun to watch. Stuttgart, by the way, gave Real a little bit of headache today. I know Real won that's for obvious reasons. I think Endrick scored among other things, but I think Stuttgart held their own. Um, and they're a team that's going to grow, I think, into the tournament, Champions League, and I think will also be in contention for Champions League again, Champions League place in the league. Um, he lost some players, but I think they'll be good enough. Um, so that's going to be a fun watch. Stuttgart Dortmund. But this Bundesliga season is not as crazy yet. We don't. Besides Heidelheim, everything's pretty much fallen into place as we expected. Except for this, look, I think St. Pauli had this goodwill where like we want them to do well because we love their culture and everything, but we know it's a big hill to climb. They're not. They don't have a big sponsor where they're splashing cash. You find somebody. They're gonna play with their squad, and then they're gonna live and die by it. So yeah.
All right. Give us before we get off Germany. Give us. Is there any game that we should be watching this week?
Yeah, it's gonna be Stuttgart Dortmund. That's my game of the week. It's the only really super interesting one that I find like it's gonna be worth your while. Um, maybe Union and Hoffenheim on Saturday, but the top spiel, as we call it, is gonna be Stuttgart Dortmund, 11:30 a.m. Sunday, September 22nd. So tune in.
Doesn't conflict too much with American football. All right, brother. We'll talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us and chiming in. It's been way too long. Miss you.
Miss you too,
Talk to you
man.
later, bro.
And as always, feel free to hang in the back if you want to chime back in. You're always welcome.
You're always welcome. We're gonna welcome in our good friend Professor Matt coming in with the late shift.
How we doing, Mike?
Been better. I've been worse. The Phils and the Eagles sucked last night.
Yeah,
That's the problem, Adam. But Manchester United laid a 7-0 on Barnsley. so that's positive. So I'm gonna say we're in the realm of fair to middling. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad, especially after this afternoon.
So you Liverpool let up a kind of crap goal to Christian Pulisic after a really weird loss at Anfield to Nottingham Forest. Uh, I think Nottingham Forest is a lot better than we think they are.
I agree.
We'll get Officer Lee, our resident Forest fan, on at some point to talk more about Forest, but I think Forest are a more complex team than people give them credit for. But y'all go into San Siro. Yeah, you go down, but you come out, make it work. Uh, Arnie Slot football lives again.
Yeah, it was a professional win. Probably could have been 5-1 at one point if
Mhm.
Mo had not, got two shots off the crossbar. But it was a professional win. Any win in the Champions League, particularly with this new confangled format, is important. Right. I mean, that was the one big change today. I'm like, oh, so who else in our group? And I'm like, wait a minute, we have no group. So I have to pay attention to everybody. Uh, but yeah, it was a professional win and it was a good response and a palate cleanser, not just from the weekend. But look, we've seen Klopp's Liverpool go down 1-0 way too much and then find a way to come back. We haven't seen that yet under Slot, and so that was impressive. And Cody Gapko, well, I've been saying this for the last year and a half. His natural position is on the left. Do not play him as a false nine. He is not a false nine.
So you brought it up. Instead, I'm gonna throw it to you and uh, Coach Matt. This is the first day that we got to see these new European formats. Unbalanced leagues. Uh, I did not watch the 3 p.m. the later games. Manchester United was playing while y'all were playing. I tuned in, and there were some impressive results. The noon Eastern time games, the 12:30 Eastern time games, were Juventus and Aston Villa, both of which were obnoxious blowouts. I'm with you, Matt. I was looking at it like where are the other group games? What other competition am I looking? Oh, no. There is nothing else to compare it to. Uh there's no other group stage game to judge Juventus and PSV and Aston Villa and Young Boys. I know it's new. I know that we're old curmudgeons. We're like literally like Grandpa Simpson. We love to just yell at clouds because they are there. But I'll start with you, Stid. How you feeling about this new Champions League after one pseudo round of fixtures?
I have no idea what's going on. Just to put it bluntly, I don't know what's going on. It's very, very, very difficult to track. And the fact that I looked at the standings and I was looking at how on Reddit, for instance,
Y'all
people
haven't even played yet.
no. And the weirdest thing is, I'm looking at this going, I'm looking at the fixtures that are today, and I'm looking at the fixtures that are tomorrow, which has always been Champions League with Tuesday and Wednesday. And I didn't see, I was like, are we not playing this week? So I actually assumed that Arsenal's playing next week.
No.
And I looked at next week and I didn't see any games. I'm on my app. I just go to next week. I look at next week and I was like, no. So I just go to the Arsenal page and they see they're playing Thursday. So I was like, well, wait a minute, that's the Europa League day. So now Europa League is actually, because now next week there is no Champions League. That's Europa League week. So now they're doing this off, but that's only the first couple of weeks. Because once you get to October, then it's just Tuesday and Wednesday, and you have Europa League on Thursday, but then it switches back to off and on weeks again. It is extraordinarily confusing. And yes, I don't know what's going on. And on Reddit, people are putting out their predictions for the top 8 finishers because I guess that means something. And I didn't know that meant something. But the fact that there are how many teams are ranked in the 36? I don't know. I have lost that number as well. It is very, very, very confusing. And while I am going to temper my fist swinging at the clouds because I do understand that things evolve and change. But I think having to see this occur on top of what we just talked about with the Club World Cup thing that's going to be happening in the United States this year, I'm more and more and more inclined to support Rodri on his player strike because it's so hard to be a football fan and follow all of these competitions. It's just getting harder and harder and harder and harder. And I'm about to join Chelsea Mike and I'm just gonna follow championship. That's it. I'm gonna find my championship team. Of course, though, you find championship teams. That team does well, though, it ends up in the Premier League. You can't, and then I'm back to where I started from. But it's I don't know what's going on. And this show is just going to get harder and harder and harder to do because there's just so much. There's just so much.
Hey,
And
I am lost.
I'm
all
lost,
the
yeah.
time, and I plan it.
That's right. You're right to run a show.
I would like to admit, about a year and a half. What was it? A year and a half, 2.5 years ago, we got the announcement of the European Super League, and we did a show, and we lambasted how assholish all of the teams were for signing up for the European Super League, and like they all sucked. And how could you sell out football like that? You bastards! You killed football. And then they all came back and they joined and they rejoined UEFA, and they paid their fines, and they got into the Champions League. And what did the Champions League do? They gave us the European Super League.
Super League.
Yes.
So
this is
so now I feel slightly vindicated because Stead, 3 years ago during COVID, I told you this was a thing, and then it almost happened, and I felt like an asshole for having supported it and trying to argue for it, and I was wrong. And now, yet I wasn't as dumbass as I sounded 3 years ago when I said this. I'm so far ahead of my time. My parents haven't even met yet. Like, I wish y'all could keep up with me. Matt, what did you think about this first day of the new Champions League format?
I'm in the same boat with Stead. I was remarkably confused. Uh Again, I was like, wait a minute, why are there matches on Thursday? This isn't right, but apparently it is right now. This is the new normal. I think you're spot on in terms of This is so I was trying to explain this to my wife, and she was like, "This makes no sense." And I'm like, "Remember the Super League? This is UEFA doing the Super League so it can kill the Super League. That's what this is." I will say this though. There are things that I do not like. Well, we can't call it the group stage anymore. It's the league stage.
I love how Professor Matt froze
Yep.
right at
Oh,
It's
that moment.
fantastic.
That was fantastic. That was the most epic freeze ever. He doesn't even know he froze.
where exactly did I face at?
It was a good face. It was a good
Okay.
He's
face.
gonna have to watch the show.
Yeah.
And see
Okay.
You
that
froze like
again.
this.
That was the most epic freeze ever.
So
I don't even know
I
where.
don't.
I don't even know where to tell you to
Yeah,
go. Like,
the league phase ends in January, which is bizarre, and it's entirely too much football. One thing I will say, usually the last two match days of the Champions League group stage match days, you kind of have a sense of who's moving on and who isn't. This new format does, however, lend itself to a potentially crazy end to this league stage because there are going to be teams who normally would be on the outside looking in or would be safe because it's like, all right, at worst, we can finish third. We're going to the Europa League. That's no longer a possibility. Who, are like, okay, well, if we can get results in the last two matches, maybe we can move on. So I'm waiting to see once this league phase is wrapped up. But I the fact that this is going on, this initial phase is going on in through January, I think is a little ludicrous. And the two extra games do matter. They do.
Hmm. Yeah. Rob, jump in. What do you think about this whole Champions League situation? This whole new format?
It's weird. I don't like it because it's not balanced. Like I have, look, I have no problem with playing Dynamo Zagreb, but I like to play also at Dynamo Zagreb. Like they should have a chance to play Bayern Munich at home. And so that's why I loved about the group stage. The group stage was very evenly matched. Like you get your group, pot one, pot two, pot three, pot four, and you did a home and home. And that's it. And it was fantastic. Not this like, you know, um, you play one team home, but then like another totally different team away. And then it's just very fluky. It's just more games, which we talked about earlier in the show. Just like I can't stand it. I really can't. I feel bad for the players because now we're playing Champions League team stage or league stage games into January. And January was like, especially for the Premier League teams, January was where you get Premier League. Yeah, a lot of the teams in the Premier League start FA Cup. I think you got a little bit of Carabao Cup in there as well.
Hmm.
So you took January was perfect. You took a break from the Champions League or European
Hmm.
competition in general. Like,
Yeah. And they
I
jam a bunch of fixtures at that time in England too.
well, and there's another problem on the opposite end of the continent. What about the Eastern European teams that take the long winter break?
Hmm.
But in January, when normally you're chilling or doing preseason in like Turkey or something, you got to play some rando game in Stuttgart. Like that's going to be
Hmm.
like Shakhtar Donetsk is going to have to play two league stage matches in the middle of a 2 month we chill period. Like that's silly.
Hmm. Absolutely.
hate it all. Hate it all.
Yeah.
UEFA. What was so wrong with the group stage? Nothing wrong with the group stage.
No, there wasn't.
I liked having the ping pong balls. It was
Hmm.
cute.
Yep.
And they were all it was nice and fantastic. And you had
Hmm.
like, Terry Henry would hit the balls.
Yep.
And then you would have Bonmani also doing the balls too. and like I got
Yeah, and the problem, I think the biggest problem having with this is even when they've seen these types of changes before, and there was some things that I didn't like about it, or something that seemed clunky, or some things didn't line up, there was at least this sort of evolution of the product where it would start to make sense. I don't see how that's going to occur with this particular product. I don't really get it. And that's where I am concerned, because as we know, they don't go back on these types of things. Once they make this choice, they're going to stick with it. They're going to just keep hammering it down your throat. And yeah, I'm really going to miss the group stage. You are exactly right when you said Dino Grove should have a chance to play Bayern Munich at home. Absolutely. They should. They should. And there's this there's another part about that tournament that was great that's now lost forever. And that's where I'm having the biggest problem with it. And I don't think that this format is going to make the game more exciting, because what you're doing is you are now funneling fans to fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer teams. So with the whole adage of we really want to set this up so the top teams can play against each other more often, I get that type of advertising you would put forth to make someone more interested in this tournament. But again, that's a marketing tool for the people who are not in Europe, and the people who are not who are, I will say who are, I don't even want to call them casuals. It's someone, because we have to remember these games that are coming on here in the United States are coming on at noon and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon during the week when people are at work. So to get more eyeballs on it is challenging enough, just from the sole fact that people have lives. And that's going to be even more of a problem. So that's why I'm having an issue with this one so much, is that Champions League is but yes, they're pushing this into Super Cup, but you're going to see fewer and fewer teams the from outside of the big four. 'Cause I'm not even going to include France in this. Outside of the big four leagues are going to have any real ample representation or any chance to just kind of make a little run beyond, I would say, the lead up to this. Because when you have this little 8 team out of 36, you know which 8 teams are going to go through. Half the predictions I saw did not have Arsenal in there. So it was one of the major clubs in the world. And I'm not saying that's bad. But that's very well my point, is that you've taken that away from smaller teams. I think the likelihood you're going to see an Ajax team as a semifinal is gone down. To seeing a team like Lyon or Marseille semifinal is gone down. Porto has gone down. All those chances are now, I feel it's just going to be gone now, because of exactly what you're talking about, is not having that home and home fixture. I didn't like the fact that they took away goals. I thought away goals was a big deal. It's a big deal. So, you know, I think this might be the first time I have a problem with one of these league setups that I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. That's my rant for the day.
Shakes fist at cloud, yells real loud. Feel better?
Yeah, feel better. Absolutely.
All right. Professor Matt, while I still got your attention and your time before we move on to our fellow traveler, Chelsea Mike. I used to think of Eastern Europe like the clown car of soccer.
Okay.
And it was like listening to the latest bad traffic report. But since you've been doing this, I've gotten more interested in European soccer. What is going on in Eastern Europe?
So, real quick, Kazakhstan, where there's only 6 match days left because they're on that whole old Soviet era spring through autumn calendar. There's 4 clubs from 1 through 4 separated by 2 points, and there's actually a title race, which is kind of cool. So you have a
We
Kobe
have to watch the title race in Kazakhstan.
in Kazakhstan, yeah. Which you can watch on YouTube. The Kazakh Premier League has a YouTube channel. Uh Akobe and Yamele both on top at 34. Akobe with a better goal difference. Last year's champion Ordubase in second or in third at 33, and Kairat uh, in fourth at 32. So there's intrigue in Central Asia. Uh, Moving a little further west to Ukraine, they're on match day. Well, they're going to be entering match day 6. So 5 matches played so far. Uh, what did I say before the season started? I thought Polisario was going to be one of the surprise teams. So far, they fit the bill. They are undefeated, 13 points out of a possible 15. Alexandria also on 13, but with a crap goal difference. And Dynamo Kiev in third at 12. The big story, I guess, out of the Ukrainian league is, will the real Shakhtar Donetsk please stand up? Uh, they're currently in seventh place with 9 points. And this is what they do: they either win 5-0 or they lose. And I can't figure out exactly. There's something. Look, Shakhtar, much like a lot of big clubs that, win the league year in, year out, it seems, they only really hit into gear, particularly in the Ukrainian league after the long winter break. But I gotta be honest, they've been functioning without a striker. I know, Mike, we've had this conversation on the podcast over the years. When your number 9 is Lanasa Tenore, uh, like eventually that's going to catch up with you. You don't have a number 9, and the loss of Taras Stepanenko through injury and Yaroslav Rakititsky through retirement, I think is really showing. Bondor and Matvienko are both good center backs, but in the matches that I've watched, the defense looks like Liverpool when they gave away the Pulisic goal, like 4 chickens without heads. Uh, there seems to be a leadership void at the club. It's way too early. It's 5 matches, but it's interesting that they look awfully vulnerable, and when they don't, they just blow people away. So we'll see.
All right, brother. We'll check back in with you on the next pod. Always good to talk to you.
Pleasure being on, Mike. Peace.
I want to welcome in Chelsea Mike, coming in braving COVID.
Indeed, you thought it was gone, but no, it remains.
Mhm.
COVID remains.
I am really insulted by the fact that I think the two of us have the same hairstyle.
I mean, we know what's up. We know what's good. You and I do. We're leading the line in style. Most
Yep,
stylish
there we go.
podcast on
That's what we're gonna go.
I'm definitely not like sick and just like sweating profusely over here. My hair frizzed up into a ball.
Well, you got it tamed and it looks fine. All right, brother. We got a number of things to talk about. Let's talk with the start with the Women's Super League. I know you're going to do a short about them in the next couple of days, but when it comes to the Women's Super League, what do you want us to look out for?
Yeah, that's right. By the way, a full 12-team WSL preview will drop this week, probably tomorrow. And yeah, so like this video, subscribe to the Too Many Guys Soccer Show to get that content for you. What do I want you to look for? I mean, I guess the big question is, can Chelsea win 6 in a row? That is a question we will address on the topic. It's an era of big change at Chelsea. Can Chelsea overcome that change? I guess the most likely contender to beat them would be Manchester City. But do Manchester City have too many forwards and not enough defenders? Maybe. Also, Arsenal top team, giving Viviana Miedema to City. How do they recover from that? Who's really the goal scorer for them? And I guess how far does Manchester United fall? I think you, as a fan, especially of the men's team, uh, might be a little frustrated with the lack of investment at times, but the women's team, it's an absolute sin. The players
Well,
who
they
have
told
walked
us
away
what
from
they
that
were going to
team over the
do,
last
and
couple of years.
they told us what they were going to do when they proceeded to do that. You and I had this conversation when I saw you a couple of weeks ago, and I'll invite Bayern Rob to jump in on this. But Rob, Mike and I went out to see a preseason between Arsenal women and Chelsea women, and we had a lot of conversations about the virtues of the WSL versus the NWSL. I'm a firm believer that the NWSL teams could very much hold their own against the best of the European teams. I would put, and yes, I'm going to claim them. This is going to be the most awkward thing that I have done in a long time, because I need y'all to hold on. The Philly boy is about to claim a DC team. I'm going to put my Washington Spirit up against a lot of the top teams in WSL. I know that the Spirit, whatever happened when they played in preseason, but that was a friendly and a competitive match. I'll put the Spirit up. I'll put Gotham FC up. I'll put Portland Thorns up. I'll put them up against the top teams in Europe. And I think 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, we're going to come out on top. Rob, how are you feeling about that one?
100%. I think the NWSL is a better league, top to bottom. I think they have more stars, more world stars. I know. I just
Orlando
think,
Pride, I mean, who can beat them?
yeah, they have a
Other than the Washington Spirit.
other than
Who can beat?
yeah.
Who can beat the Orlando Pride? Chelsea FC.
In a friendly, yeah, but in a competitive match,
yeah. So that's been the biggest thing, and I think I think fans of like Mike and myself, who really get into the weeds when it comes to women's soccer, are really excited about this potential future Club World Cup, because I think the teams are going to take it really seriously.
mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm there
and
for it.
yeah, I'm pumped. Like it's totally going to be the opposite of what the men is, where the men's like, whatever, right? Like it's an obligation. But no, I think for the women, it's going to be, they're really going to compete for it. I just think the NWSL, like, we have all the a majority of South Americans, the top class. We have some of the best in Africa as well. I just think the mechanics that the league has the salary cap has made every team really difficult to beat. I mean, minus the Houston Dash this year, but even them, well, I think they have a top keeper in Gene Campbell, and I just think the bottom tier of the NWSL will be the bottom tier of the Women's Super League. That's just my opinion, and you know it's great that you have myself here and you have Mike, because Mike really paid attention to the Super League. I pay sicko attention to the NWSL. And so I'm gonna vouch for my league, the one I have season tickets
No,
to.
I'm with
Yeah,
you. I
yeah.
am a NWSL guy. Like I said,
Well, I am gonna throw out a counterpoint there, of
I
course.
know I would be shocked if there wasn't counterpoint. But before you go, I'm going to back up Rob. I'm going to NWSL, and what I'm really looking forward to is when Chelsea women have to come over to Audi Field and play the Washington Spirit in something that matters, and we'll see how they fare then.
Well, yes, we shall. I will say, yes, the Spirit, the second half of the season, they have been impressive. Trinity Rodman is solidifying herself as one of the great stars of the game, maybe a future Ballon d'Or winner. But I think really when you're talking about the competitiveness of the leagues, to me, I look to the mid-table, right? To the teams like Tottenham and Manchester United. And do I think that those teams can beat Bay FC and Racing Louisville? And the answer is yes. Now, are there some pretty terrible, like was Bristol last year, who only scored 6 points in the league, just absolutely terrible? Yes. And would they lose to the Houston Dash? Yes, they would have. So I do think that there's a little bit more of a bifurcation there in the league, but I think that the middle teams in the WSL are better than the mid-table WSL teams. I think that the top end, I don't think that you have teams with the kind of talent. Like, I mean, Gotham has a great many Americans, American Olympic champions. Um, but I don't think any of them have the star power of Chelsea or a or an Arsenal or a City. And that's just in terms of the structure of the leagues, right? Like the Premier League, the men's sides that are in some ways supporting and feeding these women's clubs uh, with resources. You know, it's top heavy in England. That's just the way it is. The top teams are the top teams. The bottom teams can be really bad. I think it's just the nature of the structure of the league. But I think that the top end of the WSL is better. I think mid-table is better. But I do think that the bottom, I think there's more parity in the NWSL. And there are some stinker teams in the WSL, but overall the talent.
I'm waiting to see. Rob, I'm still with you.
I mean,
Give me
I
the Orlando Pride. Give me the Washington Spirit, and
look,
put them up against
y-
Chelsea women. Put them up against Arsenal women in a game that I know that they were over here for their preseason tours, but that was an additional game. And I don't know how seriously the NWSL took, but give me a game that matters. I got my women. I'm gonna take them.
yeah,
I'm gonna take them.
Mike brought up a good point about BFC, the expansion team BFC, and I think, um, yeah, now
But they'll
they're,
come good.
yeah, I think because their front line is just terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, between Oshala and Kununanji, like those two, like could wreak havoc. Um, and you just give them like a nice training camp when they're all together for after a year of a season. Like, the NWSL is still growing. You have two expansion teams, in the Utah Royals and Bay FC. And I think Bay FC, in their short time has gathered some star power, to the Bay. And there, I think, you're seeing them blossom a little bit. And I actually have them as a sleeper in the playoffs, when I was talking to some friends. I think they could do some damage, because I think their talent is just too good not to, in a one game win a 1 game playoff. They're just going to go. I think they can win it. No, but I'm excited. Like, I think Mike and I should really, like, once the Club World Cup is like it's solidified, we definitely need to like plans to go, because I think it'll just be fun to watch. Like,
Hey, tell me where you're going because I'm gonna be there.
yeah, like watch like Sam Kerr go at it, like versus like Tina Davidson, from Gotham, or like watch Oshala and like any like top
Millie Bright,
defender,
Give
Millie
me
Bright,
Naomi
yeah,
Gurma
Leah
any day of the
Williamson.
week and twice on Sunday.
yeah, get Naomi Gurma versus like Bonmani over at the La Liga, right? Like all that, like
I was there
two-thirds of
in
the earth
France,
is
man.
covered by water. The other third is covered by Naomi Gurma.
yeah,
I was there in France watching the game. Naomi Gurma won the game for the United States versus Germany. She is the best defender on the planet. There
and
is
it's
no
it
question
is a
about it.
And I'm not,
travesty,
and we're not saying that
she's
male
not in the
or
Ballon d'Or
female.
list.
I think that Naomi Gurma is the best at her position, male or female, right now. And she's not. All right, Mike, you cover lower league. We had a really, really, really big lower league match yesterday, and it didn't necessarily end up the way that we thought it would. Wrexham, Hollywood, AFC, they were talking big trash. They were talking big trash. They got Eli Manning. They had Ryan Reynolds. They were talking big trash to Tom Brady's Birmingham. And Birmingham went in there and showed Wrexham what a former Premier League team can do to a lower league team. I got to say, though, that was the most excited I have been to see a lower league game in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, Birmingham City are not to be they're not to be dismissed. They're a team that have been higher very much more recently. Wrexham, a team that's emerging out of nowhere. So, I mean, it's lower leagues. You're always going to have setback. But I got to say, Stansfield looked great for Birmingham City. He's apparently a club record signing for Birmingham City. And I think he proved his worth against Wrexham. Although Marriott for Wrexham, he's looking good, scoring goals. I don't like the US PR pushes with Wrexham. Ryan Reynolds gets all his famous friends, and people who don't know anything about soccer are now Wrexham fans. I mean, I guess that grows the game, but the thing is, it's not really growing the game. It's like growing Ryan Reynolds' pocketbook,
It's
and that's
going to
always
game.
been the
Trust me. There are so many people who talk to me now about Wrexham based on that series and uh now watching them play. Uh
I
all
know,
the
but like in
anecdotes.
terms of television, right? You want to talk about so Wrexham, I think, are favored by a lot of people to go up and join the championship. I think a lot of people
They're
think that
going to be
there's
the only Mike. They're going to be the only one of the only League One teams that's going to sell out of jerseys.
yeah,
They're
well,
the
no
only
doubt.
League One team that we legitimately talked about last week on the kit review show and took their kit seriously. The amount of money that this team in Wales is making, to the point where it is transcended to other sports. They're now asking Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney to buy one of the franchise cricket teams because the English Cricket Board sees what they are bringing and they're like, yo, if we can get them to, and they're willing to say, like, if you can get this team on cheap right now, you can sell it for a profit. We know you'll be able to. Just we'd rather you have it because of what you're gonna do. It's a little more than just window dressing.
No, I know, but I mean, so yes, okay, they've taken a business and made it a success. I mean, to me, there's no glamour in that. That's what business people do every day, and
Mm-hmm.
this isn't like a
But if you
car
can make
dealership
if
or
you
a
can make a
widget
Hulu
company.
TV show out of doing it, full credit to you. They did what a business person does and made it look cool.
Well, all right. So here is where me as a lower league guy, a guy who's watched it, who, you want to talk about good TV, right? Okay, you've got Wrexham on the top of League One. They're buying their way through the lower leagues and getting to the Premier League, and it'll be almost like Ted Lasso when they do it, and there'll be red and green confetti on the field when they get promoted to the Premier League finally. But in terms of good TV, you have right now in the championship a Sunderland side who was not far off from the playoffs last year, who until this weekend, and they took their first loss, were leading the championship. And that show, Sunderland Till I Die, we had them get relegated from the Premier League, think they were going back up, actually get relegated again, go through the struggles of the lower league, and now that story could end with like a fan base that's just pressed and terrible, horrible, and having their sporting dreams come true. To me, that's a way better story than
All
Wrexham
right, what about
building a
Leeds?
successful business.
What about Leeds? They missed out on promotion after leading the championship the whole entire season. Somehow missed out on promotion. 1-2 with Leicester the whole entire season. Dropped down into the playoffs, get defeated in the playoffs, knocked out. Now they're competing to do it again. One of the things that I do like about the lower leagues is you have so many teams from the Premier League that we remember for various things. I have talked about my love of Sheffield Wednesday because remembering John Harkes and the first English team that I learned about when I learned about professional soccer back in the very, very, very early 90s was Sheffield Wednesday. So I'm always going to have a soft spot for them. Leeds, not going to lie, I do kind of rejoice in their suffering as a Manchester United supporter. Sunderland, we just talked about, Stead and I just talked about Sheffield United's New Jerseys. Like, you were there. We talked about Sheffield United. Yeah. All right. Now, what do we need to watch for this weekend in terms of the lower leagues?
So the television of the lower leagues has switched from ESPN to Paramount Plus, which has been great theoretically, because now instead of just getting one or two matches a week, you're getting up to 8. I think it's 8 this weekend, supposedly, because last week I was watching the Burnley match. I'm like, okay, or a couple weeks ago I was watching Burnley match. Okay, Burnley, okay. And then I clicked on the Wrexham match and it sent me back to the Burnley match. So hopefully Paramount Plus is getting this figured out. Saturday at 7:30, leading off your day. I won't be watching this because my Chelsea Blues will be playing at the time. But if you want a really good championship matchup, you've got Sunderland versus Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough were a kind of trendy pick to at least make playoffs this year. They're hanging around there. Sunderland, let's see if they could keep up that momentum. Of course, you've got Wrexham on at 10, taking on Crawley Town. And actually, the Paramount Plus are also showing League Two matches. So actually, Monday afternoon, throw it on while you work. You got Fleetwood Town versus Morecambe. So I really do appreciate that Paramount Plus is trying to get all the leagues, and it's not just one championship match like we had anymore. To me, in the championship, what you're looking for are those teams like Leeds, formerly the U.S. colony over there in England, now just Brendan Aronson remains, but they have Nato. They've got players, are how long does it take for them to rise to the top? I think you've got West Brom. Are they going to go wire to wire? And Oxford and Derby, two promoted teams, are sitting in 7th and 8th. How much can they do? I think right now they're sitting in a position very much like Sunderland was last year. So take a look at those teams as potential next year kind of teams. Of course, they could flame out as well. Could just be beginner's luck here in the championship. But I kind of like those double up stories, especially Oxford, who earned their way through the playoff last year after a number of times failing to go up. So those are the things I'm broadly watching in the first couple months of the season.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mike. We'll keep that in mind. But gentlemen, tick tock. This last 120 minutes got away from me really, really quickly. But it's been a boatload of fun. Big thanks to Bayern Rob coming on, talking a little bit of NWSL and the Germans. He and I may disagree on the virtues of Gotham FC versus Washington Spirit. I'm going to stick with my Washington Spirit. Thanks to Professor Matt, always enlightening us with the latest goings on. And yeah, you know what, Matt, I'm going to lean into that one. Big thanks to Professor Matt for enlightening us on the latest things that are going on in the clown car that we will call Eastern European football. And especially, and big thanks to Chelsea Mike coming on, talking a little bit of WSL. Please catch his short this week when he puts it out, previewing the Women's Super League season. And we will continue to have the debate on the virtues of European women's soccer versus U.S. women's soccer. Byron Rob's on my side, and I'm going to claim that one 2-1. And a big shout, as always, goes out to producer Stead, who keeps the trains going all the time, my faithful companion in all things podcasting. And a reminder that Wu-Tang is for the children. So, for the cast of the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, I am Mike. Thanks to all of you. We did all right this week. We will try and do better next week. Have a good one.